Okay, going to run through a quick little program here, or set of programs, I guess, showing just a few more of the options available to us with Visual Basic. And it'll be kind of our first real program that we're actually doing some real coding with as well. After this, basically, we won't do much as far as using the objects of Visual Basic, things like text boxes and so on. You'll either use them or you won't. That'll be your choice, but I won't be forcing them upon you. I just want to make sure that you have a chance to see some of the options so that you have an idea when something's a good idea, when it's best to use this, when it's best to use that. So this is the running program. Hopefully I'll be able to put a demo on it of it on the public drive that you can run. Version 1. So basically I've just got multiple temperature converters here, different ways that you could implement a program to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit. So first one, pretty simple, just a button that says convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit. Unfortunately, I can't make this box any bigger, but you can see it just says type in the Celsius temperature to convert. It shows 20 by default. I just put that in so that if I want to click really quickly to kind of run the demo, it shows 28 degrees Celsius to 68 Fahrenheit. If I put in a different number, 0 Celsius is 32 Fahrenheit. Good. And of course, you could run it as often as you want. Version 2. So just again, kind of looking at different options available to us. Of course, the text box with a label, which is what you're more used to. Again, kind of defaulting to 20 here. Convert Celsius to Fahrenheit. 68, 0, 32. Ideally, of course, probably want to be going both directions. So an option here would be, of course, to put Celsius on one side, Fahrenheit on the other, or two separate buttons, two separate forms, something like that. And you just see pretty straightforward stuff. That's fine, but of course, probably bigger and more than we need. So here I have it set up to allow me to put in a temperature and then choose whether I'm going from Fahrenheit to Celsius. 32 degrees Fahrenheit is 0 degrees Celsius, or Celsius to Fahrenheit. 32 degrees Celsius is 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And then the final one is kind of a fun one. No reason to type anything in, just I can just look and say, well, if I'm interested in Celsius of 32, apparently that's about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. If I'm interested in negative 40 for Celsius, oh wow, that's Fahrenheit as well, same number for Fahrenheit. If I'm looking for 68 degrees Fahrenheit, oops, 68 degrees Fahrenheit, 20 degrees Celsius. Okay, so just kind of going through a few different options available to us. I'll show you the code on how to get the radio buttons working. It's incredibly easy. And then how to get multiple forms as well. So I'm just going to pull up the code here. You can see off to the right, I don't know how well you can see it, but I have a set of forms. To add new forms, pretty straightforward. I right click, I add, and then a Windows form. And I've chosen the default Windows form for all of these. We can probably get into some of the others later on, or you'll more likely just start peeking at them before I ever have a chance to talk about them. I called the first one startup form, and then of course version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 6 you'll notice isn't on there. It wasn't running as nicely as I'd like. I may take a look at it again, but I was just trying to be a little tricky with it, and it just wasn't as smooth as I wanted it to be. So startup form, the code. Again, sort of mention this to a few of you individually. You never type something like this in. If you want code for a button or for any object, always click on the object and then choose the appropriate event here to get what you want. And I've set it up really simply. The radio buttons are called R button 1, R button 2, R button 3. There is a property called checked. And basically what this is really saying is that if checked is true, then basically go to version 1, the form, and show it. and then I just close the form 1, of course, and come back to the startup form to get the second, third, or fourth options. Okay, so what you see here is equal to true is exactly the same thing as if it's just rbutton2.checked. The reason I wanted to show you that specifically with the true is if you wanted to, you could do something like rbutton2.checked equals false. So in your code, you could change it to be this button is chosen or this button is not chosen. Obviously, you could also write true. So if something happens that you want to change the settings, you can do that. Version 1 here, looking at the code, just a simple button on the screen. Button click, of course, so the button's called button convert. And now what I've done, I've created variables in the background to store the information. Anything that you have used so far, or most of what you've used so far, has been an object on the screen. As soon as the computer sees there's a button on the screen, it knows, oh, that's a button. What we're doing now is working with more of a theoretical idea of what's going on in the background. These are variables. Just like X represents anything in math, cell in this case can represent any legitimate Celsius value. And I've declared it's going to be dimensioned as an integer. Dim stands for dimension. And far is the Fahrenheit value. So two slightly new commands here. This input box, input box allows you to type something in. As you go through typing in the word input box, it'll tell you sort of what comes into the brackets, but the first statement here is just what's going to show up. It says type in the Celsius value, or type in the Celsius temperature to convert. This is the title of the box, and this is a default starting value. You could stop it right there and just ignore the rest of it, and you'd still get a box showing up. Oh, never mind, I did something wrong. Why is that? Oh, so there's the other set of brackets. Okay, so I could just leave it like this, run it, version 1, and you just see the name that shows up now in the box is temperature conversion demo, the name of the whole program, and there's no default value there. If I cancel, it's going to crash on me. So I like putting the default value in because it sort of avoids that crashing. It knows that the 20 is the value if I don't type something else in. This is the equation to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit. 9 divided by 5 times the Celsius value given to you plus 32. And so it's just doing a straight math equation, just a substitution. It plugs the number that I've typed in here, works it out, stores that as Fahrenheit, and then message box is similar to input box. It's the box that pops up, but it doesn't allow me to type into it. So input box if I want to input information, message box if I'm just trying to give a message to whoever's using my program. And you can see sort of how I formed the statement here. This says go to the variable called Celsius and get my value. Add to that the words degrees Celsius is. Add to that the value from the Fahrenheit, and add to that the words degrees Fahrenheit. So that sort of forms the sentence, some number degrees Celsius is some number degrees Fahrenheit. Now as we go through, I'm not going to show you anything for version 2 here. Turns out I can't click on it anyways. You see this. The code that's going to go into this button is going to be a combination of what you know from before as far as working with text boxes and labels, and what you just saw with the equation of how to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit and the variables. So you're basically going to modify that program to put it into here, but using the text box and the labels instead. And just in case it's not clear, there is a second label here. So there's a label for just the Fahrenheit number. The word Fahrenheit and the word Celsius are other labels that aren't included in the actual output. So I'm just printing the number 68 or 32 or whatever it is in here. Continuing forward, okay, this one too, I'm not going to look at any code for this one. This first part of the program is, of course, version 2 by itself, and this is just version 2 rearranged. So once you've done the first one, you should be able to do this one. The one key here is, of course, you'll have to rearrange the equation like you would in a math class. Write it down, Fahrenheit equals 9 divided by 5 times Celsius plus 32, and then rearrange it using Bedmas rules to isolate the Celsius value. You can test it, of course, by running the program and checking. When I type in the number 20, do I get 68? Yes. When I type in 68, do I get 20? Yes. It seems to be working okay. Negative 40 should give you the same answer in both cases. 0 degrees Celsius is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So there's a few there that that kind of give you what you need. I guess this one, same thing. I won't have to go through it too much because the code is going to just make use of the buttons, the radio buttons that you've used before. There is one thing in here I need to show you probably, so I'm going to pause the video while I bring it up. Okay, sorry about that. I changed my mind. I don't think there's anything in there that I have to show you. I just sort of mentioned that in version 4, when you display down here, I had it displaying on 2 lines. The easiest way for you to do that today would be to have 2 labels. One label that says the value in Celsius is, and one that says the Fahrenheit value is. You can reverse them when we do things in the opposite order. The key here I was thinking that I need to show you was you want to recognize we have to make a decision. So it's sort of if the value is selected up here. But of course, that's what we did already with the first, on the first set of radio buttons. So I'm going to let you work at that one on your own. I'll tell you though that if with an else if is better in this case than a bunch of if statements the way I had it on startup form 1. The only time that a series of if statements is like this is good is if there's only one specific thing to do. When this happens, do that, nothing else. As soon as you have multiple lines of code, if with an else if, with an else if, and end ifs and so on would be your best bet. So the last one I'm going to show is part of version 5 here. And this one, of course, we'll have to figure out how to use the scroll bar. Just in general, again, like I've put a scroll bar on my screen. I found it under in the toolbox somewhere. If we need to look for it, we will. When I double click on it, what happens by default is I go to the name of my scroll bar. I called it horizontal scroll bar cell. I decided I was going to have this one be the Celsius values, and I was going to calculate the Fahrenheit. So that's sort of the thought process of why it's called cell. And then, as with anything else, what I need to do is figure out what's available to me. So in this case, when I type HSB cell, I hit the period, and it just gives me the options that are available to me. What properties work with horizontal scroll bars? Well, the main one here is value, and value is what I'm interested in. The value is the numeric value that's currently associated with the scroll bar. Okay, so just sort of as a rule, when you're working with any object, especially if it's a new one, you type in the name, you hit period, and then you can look down the list of different options that are available to you. Sometimes you'll figure it out right away. Sometimes, of course, it won't be that easy. So this is basically in the first text box in LBL cell text. So I have 2 text boxes in this case, which probably was unnecessary. Oh no, sorry. Okay, sorry, I don't have 2 text boxes, I have 2 labels. That's what I was going to say. They should be labels. Oh yeah, sorry, label. It's the text of the label that is going to be equal to that value. So whatever value is on the scroll bar shows up in the first box. Then I create a variable here for the second one, and it just takes that same value out of off the scroll bar, and does the 9 divided by 5 times. This is now my Celsius value, plus 32. Slightly nicer might have been to do this. And then cell is equal to if that's any nicer for you, then the equation looks the same as it did before. So create a variable to store the Celsius value, make the Celsius value exactly equal to whatever was on the scroll bar, and then do the regular calculation, and of course display that value in the text box. So you can see this one's actually quite simple. It's just a matter of playing with the scroll bar a little bit. So I'm going to stop there. Pretty long video. It goes through a fair bit. I'll do a little bit of a write-up probably to go with it, but I think the majority of what you see there is what you need.